why it's so important to know who you are in God before you get into a relationship. This is it. The relationships are meant to complement each other, not complete. And we have all been kind of like on the thinking that they should complete each other. But the truth of the matter is, God should complete you. And then when you get into a relationship, they should complement each other. The yin to the yang. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's got to be counterbalanced with a greater love of God. That means God has to be, you both love God, and then you both love each other, and it all comes together. You know what I'm saying? And that way, if something happens and the relationship doesn't work, the relationship breaks up, that you are not going to fall completely apart, because you still know who you are in God. God still has you put together. And if you are depending on someone else to complete you, when that relationship breaks up, you're going to be devastated. You're going to be so devastated that it's going to destroy your life. And that should never be the way it is. You should never have all of your faith in a person. All of your faith should be in God. And the person should complete you. If that person doesn't complete you and you end up breaking up, then you know you're going to be okay because you have God. And you know who you are in the relationship with God, right? And that is so important in a relationship. And when you're together, you're good. How do I put this? This person, you're together, okay? You go and do your thing, they go doing their thing, and you're good doing your thing, and they're good doing their thing. But when you get together, you are even doing better. You're better at being. Does that make sense? You're better together than you are alone. But if you are alone, you're still good to go, right? You're still good. And they're still good. So it's how do I put this? A lot of times we get into a relationship and we have put ourselves, all of our faith into this person. All of our validation comes from the person and not from God. When you get all your validation from a person, you're going to get let down, because either the relationship will fall apart, or you're never going to be able to meet their qualifications of what they think you should be. And when you're never able to meet the qualifications of somebody else's thoughts and what a level of that they think you should be, you're going to get destroyed. You're going to fall apart, because you're going to be striving so hard to get this person to love you that, and nothing that you can do is ever going to make a person love you. It's either there or it's not. You know, in the story of Jacob and Leah in Genesis chapter 29, Jacob was tricked. He wanted Rachel, but he got Leah in the process. And he didn't get Rachel till later, and then he finally got Rachel. And, Leah, she's thinking, oh, well, if I have a baby, he's going to love me. So God gives her a baby, and he still doesn't love her. So then she's like, well, if I have another baby, he's going to love me. So she has another baby, and he still doesn't love her like he loves Rachel. So the third time she has this other baby, and he still doesn't love her like he loves Rachel. But by this time, she knows who she is in God, with God. And so she's giving God thanks. God loves me. He cares about me. And that's what matters. It took her, a couple times to figure that out, but she got it. And so That's kind of how we are. We get with a person and we're like, wow, if I work out and I have this perfect body and I dress this way and I put my makeup on this way, or if I got this car and, I got this job and I went to school and I've done this and I'm so successful, they're going to love me. That should not be a reason why somebody loves you, first of all. And second of all, if that's what you're depending on, it's going to fall. The relationship's going to fall apart. First of all, just know who you are in God. Know that God loves you. And then if that other person loves you, they truly love you, you shouldn't have to jump through so any hoops for them to love you. You should be able to be yourself for them to love you. And that is that is what is missing in most of our relationships these days. We're always trying to jump through some hoop for somebody we want to love us. But the chances are that person you're trying to get to fall in love with you because, by jumping through all these hoops, and you're not getting that validation that you need because maybe they're actually caring for somebody else who's themselves. They're not jumping through hoops to get this person to love them, but they love them. And a lot of times that's what is going on. If you ain't being yourself, if you are not being who you are, and you don't know who you are in God, how can you love yourself, first of all? And how can you want someone to love you if you don't even love yourself? That is so important, to love yourself. And you shouldn't have to jump through any hoops. You shouldn't have to prove yourself to anybody. You shouldn't have to convince anybody that you're worth loving. Because if God thinks you're worth loving, and you think you're worth loving, then you don't have to have anybody else's approval. And if somebody doesn't love you for exactly who you are, then they don't really love you. Now, love is a commitment. Love is a decision. And you can love someone. Like, you can love someone and then them not be in the correct standing. They haven't healed their trauma, or they don't believe in God. Now you have a decision to make. Do you love yourself enough to stay away from them while they're healing their trauma, if they choose to heal their trauma? Or because they don't believe in God, do you love your God enough to stay away from them because they are not of God? These are hard decisions, especially when you have gotten feelings for someone. But if they don't know God, they don't want to get to know God, and they don't ever want to know God, then you can't really be with them, because then they would pull you away from God, and God should be first and foremost in your life. So you have a decision to make. Do you stay wanting them? Do you stay trying to be with them? Or if they're unwilling to heal their traumas, do you put yourself in that situation where you're going to have a horrible life fighting their trauma responses? These are really hard decisions to have to make, but you have to love yourself enough to make sure that you make the right decision. First of all, you have to love your God enough to make the right decision. Your God should be over everything and everyone and everything in your life. So, do you get involved with somebody who doesn't love your God, that's going to pull you away from your God? Then you're making them an altar, and that's putting you in sin. Or do you love yourself enough and your God enough to pull away from that situation? These are tough questions to ask, but they're important questions. So Make sure you're thinking about those questions.